I mean, I started very late. I'm not going to reveal all the age phases, but if I told you at what age I started, and if you add law school, if you add the 10 years and then I've done 10 years, it's crazy if you think that someone at the age of like nearly 40 would just to say, oh, okay, then I'm just going to start DJing now. And I've been going ever since. And this is something that I've never spoken about. And it's something that I've actually had the time and I'm really starting to be proud of, because it defines me.
Welcome to Elevated Frequencies, the show that gives you access to the next level of house and techno so you can explore an elevated lifestyle. I go into every conversation with artists on this show with an open mind. There's some artists that share more about their personal life than others on social media, and so I kind of have a primer of how they are. Some of these artists I know personally, and so I have, a lot of background. And some, it's a wild card and you don't know what you're going to get. I can say, in all honesty, that this conversation with Flashmob that you're about to see is one of the most surprising, enlightening, enriching, and vulnerable conversations I've ever had with a human, period. And this is so special. We talked about so many things, not just about DJing and music, but about life, that it's a real privilege that he told me these things, and I feel privileged to share them with you. We discussed everything from the golden rule, treating others with kindness, to going back to basics in your artistry and craft. It's cutting out the bullshit and the noise of the pomp and circumstance of the industry. I don't want to give too much away. I just would really love it if you would listen. I have to ask, because you have a couple of accents going on, and I'm sure I'm not the first or last person ever ask you. But tell me about your background, because I know you live in Milan now, correct?
I do.
Okay, so how did you get there?
So I was born in Turin, which is an hour away from Milan. And my mother was of Irish origin. So she came from one of those family that went from Ireland to Liverpool to then be shipped onto America. And then the war, my grandfather died during the war. My family stayed in Liverpool. My mother was born in Liverpool and then raised in Liverpool. And then when she was 19, she wanted to leave the UK, go either to Australia or Italy, found an opportunity in Italy to work, and ended up meeting my father in a place called Villa delle Rose, which is today a club where I've actually played. It's insane. And yeah, they met. I was born in Turin, and I've been in Italy ever since. I've been raised in Italy, studied in Italy, and went to London in 2005, late 2004. Well, no, 2005. And yeah, and then started this crazy adventure when I was not as young anymore. I'd already been through law school, and and then pushing ever since.
Wow, it's amazing. And you're so worldly because of that background and that experience. But I have to ask, because coming from my father's an immigrant from Sicily, and so I've spent quite some time in Sicily and different parts of Italy. How is it when you're touring and you have to find decent quality food in other places? I can imagine that's difficult.
Well, see, I'm when I'm touring, I have rice, white rice, chicken, and water, sleep, train. That's pretty much it. Sleep, play, repeat.
So you're very strict when you're on tour. You're not like indulging in
It's not something that I think that I feel that I can take merit for. I've always been like this. I've always been into sports. I've always take care, and um, I've always been yeah, I've always been involved in sports. So I've never really been someone that, you know, I didn't even drink alcohol before meeting my wife. Now when I'm at home, we have a lot of wine. Uh,
Yep.
but yeah, it's just the way I am.
So it sounds like that you're just very focused
I
on your
am.
craft.
See,
And talk to me about your journey, because I know just a couple days ago you had a new release with Josh Butler, right? Who I
see,
actually interviewed on the podcast recently. So you've been doing this for a while.
see, I've been doing it since well, like this since 2011. So yeah, but I had previous projects that I was traveling internationally before that. But, you know how it is at the beginning. It's not really fun traveling when there's no windows in the hotel room. So anyway, no, yeah, I've been doing it for quite a while, but um, I don't know. Something happened to me during COVID, and I've literally went from being very happy to be home, finally resetting my body and having the time to evaluate what I've done and what I want to achieve, what I've achieved, and we close this. And yeah, because you're often in a loop and you forget who you are, what you've done, the reasons why you started, what you really want to do, how you really want to do it, and you're more involved in this dog race, I call it, which is to do with who gets there first, who plays more, who looks better, who releases on the bigger labels, blah blah blah, which is totally the opposite of who I am and what I do this for. So during COVID, I just didn't go into the studio for like 8 months, recovered my memory and my physical well-being, and slowly started studying production again and trying to fill those gaps in in my musical culture. So I started researching again, and so started really putting my time into music rather than just being someone that theoretically makes music and plays music, and half the time you don't even want to be there. So, and then I started going back to the studio, started making music again, started really getting passionate about it again, and yeah, and slowly started working with people that helped me fix all those things that apparently weren't working in me as a human being in my approach towards the music industry. I'm very just about the music substantially, and my attitude wasn't really working for me as much as it could. Even if you're very good at doing something, there's still especially these days, there's still the approach is a very important part.
So you mentioned that during COVID, you really realized you needed to change some things about the music and about, it sounds like kind of like your lifestyle. So what was that reset for you, and what's changed since COVID?
So the reset has been one of the, I think of it as one of the best things that has really happened to me. It's given me the opportunity to really start living again. Um, I wasn't living a healthy life mentally, especially, but also at the end of the day, if you're not mentally healthy, if you're not doing the things that you would like to do properly, then you find yourself always chasing something, which I think is the beginning of that mental mechanism that starts all the chasing, is the fact that you never find yourself in the position to do all the things that you would like to do within a day or within a week properly, and you're always stealing time from your job, basically, and instead of living music as something that is a extra in your life to make you happy. And that's what I've really turned around. Music has gone back to being a medicine for me. It's gone back to being something that I do because I enjoy to do it. And I mean, I've revealed something that I've not spoken about for years at the Defected office last week when I went to do the interview and the mix for this release with Josh with the Defected guys. And I had an experience that changed my life at a certain point. And I was I was working in a law firm, doing things that I didn't really enjoy, and being someone that I didn't really connect with. I was just someone else in my body, if that makes sense. And then I was in Thailand in 2004. So that 26th of December completely changed my life. And when I came back from that, I started not wanting to do anything that wasn't within what I really wanted to do. And so it didn't really take me a long time to just get into music actively. Initially, I was a little timid, and it took me a while to get away from the law thing. I mean, law school lasts forever here in Italy. Mm-hmm. It's like, so, you know, so I opened an agency and started working with IMD and Accession, bringing all UK artists in Italy, like convincing myself I was still utilizing my law background in a way. And then I just got to a point where I realized that I was just slavering for other people and then so I started studying production, started DJing more and more. And then I just fought for 10 years till I got to a certain point where what I was doing was starting to work. And then I got married, still had nothing at the time, like literally nothing, which was, I'm starting to be proud of this. This is why I'm starting to tell this story, because I mean, I started very late. I'm not going to reveal all the age phases, but if I told you at what age I started, and if you add law school, if you add the 10 years and then I've done 10 years, it's crazy if you think that someone at the age of like nearly 40 would just to say, oh, okay, then I'm just going to start DJing now. And I've been going ever since. And this is something that I've never spoken about. And it's something that I've actually had the time and I'm really starting to be proud of, because it defines me in a way. And I'm not celebrating myself in any way. I'm just saying that I've never recognized anything that I've done to myself till before COVID. And then during COVID, I just had the time to.
Well, I think this is actually a very emotional conversation for me, because I don't know if you realize how many people need to hear what you just said, because so many people tend to hang on to that thing that they were supposed to do or poured so much time into. In your case, law school. In other people's cases, other jobs that they feel like, well, I put so much time and effort into this. If I give it up now, it was all for nothing. And so they hang on to that thing, and then they never go after their true passion. And there's a real danger in that, living in cognitive dissonance, not in alignment with what you truly want to do. And people end up hating themselves, and that magnifies onto everyone around them. You can tell when a person's not in alignment. And so what your story shows is that it's never too late to be in alignment with what you truly want out of life. And it is better to have a shorter amount of time in your life doing the thing you truly love than not ever having it at all.
Very true. It's also, I would have been a terrible lawyer, let's face it, but it's like when you develop will, like when you push yourself, you push yourself to a point where when you learn to push yourself a lot, you get to a point where you feel that where you get used to it and you think that that's normal life. And instead, I'm starting to learn that sometimes things, some of the things in life, of course, you have to push yourself. I mean, I'm still pushing myself. I still give myself another 10 years. I'm going to be the oldest DJ alive by the time I finish. But it's some things are not supposed to be, you're not supposed to be pushing some things of yourself. You should be pushing on some things. Of course, you need to be driven, you need to work hard, and etc. But a lot of things need to come naturally. And
yes,
and I was so enforced by my will, which is my only talent. I feel that my will is my only talent, my will, my strength of will, and that I was so pushed that you push yourself doing the wrong thing, and you feel you sometimes you sometimes think, oh yeah, well then if I let this go, I'm going to be weak. And not that I'm afraid of being weak. I'm very weak and vulnerable. That's not the problem. But it's like fighting means overcoming your weaknesses in a way. The whole thing is what is right for you and what is wrong for you. And it took me a very, very strong experience to learn what was really, really right for me and what I really wanted. And sometimes like my daughter, touches me with life every so often. And because as everyone, I'm distracted by what I do and trying to do the best of everything. And I feel that often I'm distracted. And sometimes my daughter, she has this gift and she touches me with life. And it's like, it's like when something really, really good or really, really bad happens and you just wake up and everything becomes relative. Everything that surrounds you becomes relative. And this is the kind of experience I had when going to Thailand, and then happened what happened. And it's just, I've just recently started talking about it and probably realizing some parts of it. I don't even remember a lot of it. And it's just, I feel that being an artist is a great privilege because you open yourself to that part of to that connection to life in a much easier way than. And it's as if ever since I've wanted to be reconnected to that experience through my art, and it just touches me. Music touches me like nothing else. I'm so passionate about it, and so just I'm just a normal guy, and when I play, I go crazy, and even in the studio, I just enjoy it so much. So, yeah.
And when you were talking about pushing, right? I use this terminology: hustling versus aligned action. And when you're hustling, you're doing a needless amount of busy work where it's like it constantly feels like you can't catch up. You're stressed.
Bravissima.
Yep. And aligned action is when you are in alignment with what you love and what you want to do, and it comes naturally and it flows. And of course, with music, which is your passion, there's hard work involved, but it's not hustling. It's aligned action strategically placed to get you to where you want to be, whether it's finishing a track or, connecting with an audience. They're two separate things. And people get addicted to hustling. They get addicted to feeling like they constantly need to do something. And life does not need to be that way. And I think Italian culture really exemplifies the beauty in ease and taking breaks and rest. Do you notice that at all?
It's not my case. But I mean, I admire people that have the tranquility of taking breaks and I'm always at it at the end of the day, because it's what I do is what I love, and it's not even what I do, it's who I am at this point.
Mhm. Mhm.
So um, certainly the weather, which now has become unbearable here as well. We're
Mhm.
like subtropical. It's 40 degrees. It's just, but anyway, but yeah, I mean, um,
Well, you
I
mentioned
always,
your daughter. Do you have those moments where it's like, I'm going to take a longer espresso in the morning, or I'm going to,
yeah, no, 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 no. I've changed completely from what I was before. So now is everything's on my time, on my clock.
Mhm.
I'm not playing as a youth team that has to run after every ball, and then they never score. I'm trying to play like one of the top teams. You don't even run that much, and you know exactly what to do, and you just I know what to do. It just to someone like me, I know what I'm doing. I'm someone that can make music, and someone that when I play, I know what I'm doing by now. I've done it for so many years that it's just a matter for me to get the right records and the right things done for me. For
right?
me to be able to express my full potential and to be happy seeing that I can put some beauty in the world. Like, I don't know, it just, for example, I'm just speaking, just without filters, speaking out loud, but it's happened to me so many times to hear people criticize uh, like very mainstream, like Bob Sinclair or David Guetta, because they're not under. Like, these guys have touched so many souls with a song. It's that simple. I mean, for me, at this
Mhm.
point, if you think of it, if otherwise, what is music for? Why are we? I know that these days, half of the people they don't can't make music. Half of the people they can't dance. They can't play. They're just. I mean, there's the industry is now floating with
TikTok DJs.
what. No, I'm listen. I don't want to judge anyone. Everyone, as long as they have fun and they bring something positive to the table, it's fine. But we're still talking about a very, very important subject, which is music, that should be taught in schools, that it should be utilized as medicine for people, something that can touch the higher part of ourselves. It's something that is supposed. It's not just when we go out there playing or when we make music. It's not just. It's not for us at the end of the day. That's what I don't like these days that much. Um, um, this shift with this triangle with the media that obliges everyone to you know to be someone, or to be
Mhm.
like this or to be like that, and I don't want to change in that respect in any way. I think that kindness and just yeah, just we're all the same.
I that's beautiful. And what I've been thinking about a lot is the fact that compared to other genres, dance music in general is relatively young. And so we're seeing so many changes in a short amount of time because of the advancement of technology. I'm not talking about music production, I'm talking about the social media, about how it
Yeah, yeah.
changes and shapes our relationships to one another, artist to fan, artist to industry people.
That's exactly
So,
the point. That's exactly the point. It's like in the 70s, you could smoke on an airplane. Now it's unthinkable. Now, these days, DJs are often, there's all this fakeness, and there's all, nobody speaks to no one. It's not cool.
mhm.
What is that about? Music is about sharing. It's about helping. It's about healing. It's about beauty. It's not, it's just, so I refuse in that sense. I just refuse to be anything else than what I really am. And I don't care if it has consequence. I don't really care. I don't,
That's it's an
but
amazing
it's something
perspective.
that, sorry, it's something that I feel it should be addressed by the heads of, by us, by everyone, because deontologia, you say in Italian, which is ethics within your job. I don't know if you can use that
Mhm,
in
mhm, mhm.
English. We should start developing that in the industry, and starting to understand that music is is a bond instrument. It's something that belongs to everyone.
Hmm.
It's not, we're just messengers that have been lucky enough to be able to play and make music and have things happen to us that have given us this gift. It's a gift.
I love that.
So now, why not help someone else to pursue the same? Obviously, you have to study. You have to be serious. You
Mhm.
have to study. You have to work hard. You have to earn it. Voila, that's fine. But all the rest, seriously, for me, it's just yeah. But let's talk about positive things.
Well, well, I think you bring
It
up a
has to
really
be.
beautiful idea. I'm sure in law, I know, I'm a former journalist, right? And we learned the journalistic ethics. There's pillars and standards that we all, well, I won't get into that conversation, but that you're supposed to follow. Ethics, do no harm, harm reduction. So does something like that exist in music yet? And if not, should
You
it be
see,
created?
some people. I went to the defected office the other day, and I left a vinyl that I had printed specifically for this person, because every time that I send a lot of demos. It's not that just because you have a name that they sign things automatically. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to send something that is special,
Mhm.
so you get a lot of no's. But there's ways to say no,
Right.
and this person that I'm talking to, her way of saying no is it makes me smile. And that's for me, that is a game changer. So I'm not the only one thinking this way. It's just, there are people that care. There are people that understand that we put everything we put our time away from other things, our kids, or whatever else you do in life.
Mhm.
There's everything goes into music, and um, there's a specific way that even I, as an A&R of my own label, I use to pass on records, which is even just giving a piece of advice, or being kind enough to say, this time it's a no because this and that, or it doesn't fit, but it's great. Why don't you start? And in this respect, um, I must say that I'm receiving a lot from some labels that I'm starting to work with, that I wasn't expecting at all, because I've not been on Defected for a while now, and I've been treated like, honestly, I've been just like speechless. The help and the support of was just, for me, it's something new. You
That's
see,
really amazing. Kindness is easy. Kindness is
it's the esatto. Why
Mhm.
not? I mean,
And one thing that I do want to mention, because I think, obviously addressing those root causes, like you say, being kind, telling people no in a kind way, always using the golden rule. On the other side of it, because we can't get everybody on board with that yet, even though the hope is to. I think that new artists, and I mentor former journalists, and one thing that I tell them as they're getting denied from jobs, right? They're getting passed up, not even getting interviewed. I have to teach them to develop that bulletproof mindset of not taking it personally, because if somebody is rude to you or if somebody is dismissive,
it's their
it's not
fault.
about you. It's about them. It's something internal.
See. I really enjoyed the Lucati podcast that you did. I'm a big fan of Lucati.
Me too. He
See,
is
I like his
amazing.
attitude. His attitude is exactly that's it. Perfetto.
Yeah. It's he really is. I love that he's not afraid to just speak his mind on Twitter and be who he is, the authenticity, which obviously you value that trait as well.
See,
It'll take you far, but people are afraid to be themselves.
see, I'm not sure I'm ready to do that. This is why I admire Lucati so much, because he has a very balanced way of saying things
Mhm.
without touching. It's as if he says things, but he doesn't say them, but he says them at the same time, which is a real talent for me. and I've been observing how he. I really love. I just love everything about him. I don't know why. I'm just a big
Have
fan.
you talked to him before?
I've signed him to my label.
Oh, okay.
I've not had. I hope to meet him one day, but I really like his attitude. I like the fact that he goes outside of gigs and gives flyers, and he's
Hmm.
just doing things that people are supposed to do. He's just doing. It's just. He reflects. He reflects the balance that is really super important. That you're just doing something you love for you, and you don't put yourself upon others, and you're just. And I don't know. I'm very critical towards myself, and I'm very opinionated on certain things. And in some things, I find myself not to be as elastic as maybe I should be. So I'm very careful of. I've always had as a rule. I'm always gonna. I've always thought of. I've always tried to stay away from any, any political comments or
Hmm.
critical comments or. Um, I mean, if I started, I don't know, I'd probably never play again if I
Well,
said what I think. But
that's
it's
Lucati and I talked about there's a very balanced, dedicated, or a delicate way to do things where you can be a little polarizing, you can ruffle a little bit of feathers, but you have to be careful in your approach. You can't just go scorched earth and start, criticizing everyone. And I think that's something some people just naturally have it. I know a lot of talented artists locally who have a problem. They don't mince words, right? And they have lost a lot of opportunities because of it. Even though their critiques are valid, it's the way you say it what gets you in trouble.
the whole point is that my role in this game is not to talk about other artists. This is the thing. This is why I've decided not to do that. The day I finish, the day that I stop, I can be a critic of the music industry, and then I can say, oh, half of the leading DJs are promoters. They're not even DJs. Like, for example, no,
Mm-hmm.
this would be for starters. But it's not my role to say these things, and it's I find it uh, much more healthy for me, for the way I am, to just concentrate on me and what I do, and don't look at others.
Yeah,
Because at the end of the day, we're all human beings, and even the people that have had opportunities that are not maybe coming from a musical background, they're still human beings. They're still maybe incredible human beings, and it's
right.
so part of the artists, of the part of the criticism that we all grow as artists towards other artists is also because we're probably not concentrated on just what we do and
Right.
appreciating the beauty and being grateful for what we do. So that's why I stay away. But I do have opinions within me that I try to
Sure.
just to shh. It's maybe that So yeah,
Yeah. Well, now
we're
it
human
really
beings.
it makes sense why you've collaborated with Josh too, because he is one of the kindest people I've ever spoken to. And is this something that when you decide who to collaborate with, you're looking for like-minded people, not just in music, but in mindset?
See, 100%. I've never collaborated with anyone in my whole career. For
In,
me, like playing with someone is a little bit of a nightmare. For me, back to back stuff is just
yeah,
never really do, because a long time ago, Flashmob, we were two.
right.
For the
I knew that.
first couple of years, we were two, and it wasn't good for me to play with someone like not that. I mean, I love the guy, and we really get along. We're still friends, and blah blah blah. It's not nothing to do with him. It's just me that I like to play alone.
Hmm.
And production wise, I've always just done my thing. I've never really, and this is something that with COVID I've found out about myself. I really enjoy collaborating with Josh, and I probably will find other people as well that share the same sort of vision of how a collaboration should go. We're very relaxed, open,
Hmm.
free to any creative change, and just happy of doing it, just happy. And I admire Josh very, very much. He's a beast at what he does. So, it's for me, it's also great to maybe share a good idea and see him do his thing, and then be able to do my thing on it. And it's a creative, and the more you are, and this has also happened to me in COVID, because in COVID I rediscovered the humbleness to go back to study.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, you start saying, okay, and you start learning things more and more and more and more, and you start realizing that there are people that are as good as you or even better than you out there. And then, and so you can appreciate more collaborating with someone so good, because of the trueness of and not only the skill, but also how true they are to what they do, and their connection with nature. I don't know, there are a number, but the kindness of Josh is just, it's what it's what I'm drawn to him, by his whole
Or,
piece.
yes,
See, I find him to be a lovely person, lovely human being.
it makes a lot of sense. And one thing that I didn't think about until you just said it, um, there must be a really truly special connection making art with somebody else, because you're making something that will exist forever. And that's something that binds you to another person, that I don't think non-artists can understand that to that extent.
True. Never thought of it this way. See?
Yeah, that's beautiful. So what is your advice? We've talked a lot about, kind of in a roundabout way, of what's happening now in the world and music. What is your advice for people who are just trying to make it, try to find their little slice of success? Because it seems like you've gone through a lot and you've done a lot, and you're different now than when you first started. So what can you tell them?
I've been tricked by my mind, on a time and time again throughout my career, because of my vulnerability. For my, in a way, I'm very open to put myself in uncomfortable positions. So that's what I do. It's what I look for. I have all my routines of cold showers and blah blah blah, to
Mm-hmm.
psychologically be in focus and not be moved by the critical side of me towards me and others. So I want to stay balanced, and I found a way in time to be balanced. So the first piece of advice would be to find ways to not let your brain trick you into an angle, and always be attached to the part of yourself that feels strong, that feels capable, that believes, and that is able to do anything, if and find solution and adapt, and don't bitch about things. Just get on with it, and just, for me, it's, if I can sleep properly and if I can hear properly in the booth, I'm fine with everything. I mean, it's, once I used to bitch about a lot of things, and it's, yeah, and this is not, because we're humans. You make mistakes, you adjust, you learn, and you move forward. And then you get a little bit older, and you realize how much your brain can waste energy on things that are not really important, to move on. And so this is why I say, don't get tricked by your brain. Certainly study as much as possible. Be the best version of yourself in what you do, which means that you're not just like, I don't know. I see all these people. They just, I don't know what are they doing? It's like, what are you guys touching? There's nothing to touch. The less you touch, the better it is. Like, there's nothing to touch. There's an algorithm. It's plus 080. If you fix it on the decks, it's basically, you don't even need the headphones anymore. It's like, so it's just, forget about the superficial part of course, play the game, which has been one of the things that I criticize to myself, because being a strong critic of anything that isn't right puts you in the position where you tend not to play the game anymore. And there's a balance in that needs to be respected in that. And if you don't find that balance, then that becomes a weakness.
Knowing it's a game, knowing it's a game that you have to play.
Exactly.
That helps. That helps.
That helps. But you can still be very respectable in the way you carry yourself and the way you do things. And with kindness, you can open so many doors and you can change so many minds and you can set a different tone, even to the worst email that you get. There's, you know, so I'm sticking to that. Kindness certainly is such a winning, you know, and just be you. You don't have to be like someone else. Same haircut, same moves, just be you. Because we're all different, and it's, you know, this is very banale. It's not. I'm not saying anything that we all know, but we're all different, and there's this space for everyone. But studying is certainly essential. Knowing what you know, learning to produce properly, but properly, and then once you know how to produce, you realize that even there, the less you touch, the better it is. So it's not really about, there's a technical thing to it, but the better the sounds that you choose are. So the more you know about music and the more you focused you are in a certain direction for what you have to do, the less you have to touch.
Right.
So it's like, the secret, it's like, you know, Kung Fu Panda. What's the secret? The secret ingredient is getting ready before. So knowing music, knowing the history of music, listening to loads of music and being able to really know music so that when you choose the sounds, you can, I mean, I don't even know how I make music. Seriously. I don't know how to make music, but I know how to make it at the same time. By choosing and you get better at choosing. And even when for example, I think that I've done one of the best records that I've done in my life, and I'm onto a sound, which is something that has not happened to me in a while. Okay. And I don't, even every time I start a record, I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to get to that sound? And then I just do it. And then it's so subliminal in a way that you choose certain sounds over other sounds because your knowledge is, because you know, I've done nearly 1,000 gigs in my career, and I've listened to, and I've been doing this in repeat. And so, but if you're not prepared, you don't know what you're doing. And one of my favorite sentences that my wife always criticizes me for, because she says it doesn't mean anything. But I always say to my daughter, you can do everything you want. Just try to do things you understand.
I love that.
Just try to do because she's asking me, she's 10 years old, but she's like, she's already telling me what to do. And she's asking me questions like for boys and la, la, la. And I say, listen, there's no rule. Just do whatever you understand and whatever you feel, but knowing that you have to understand it deeply, not superficially, deeply, because otherwise you will do something that you might regret. Right? Same thing in music.
It sounds like you're talking about, first of all, getting back to basics. The basics and the fundamentals of anything, music, whatever, are so important. And people get distracted by all the frills, bells, and whistles of the industry bullshit, looking cool, having the coolest haircut. And then they forget that that if you don't have the building blocks, you don't have that foundation, that other stuff can only take you so far. And being true to yourself will stand the test of time versus trends of haircuts, sounds.
But also because many of those things, forgive me for interrupting, many of those things are substructural for us to feel we are adequate. Because other people, they listen to your music. They don't really give a shit if you look good or, excuse my French, they don't care if you look good or bad. Yes, of course, there's part of that. But people that really do this, I think of it this way. Sandro, do I really need to play 100 gigs a year? Or can I move forward with one record. And now getting to the point where I feel that I can really do it with one record, like live with music, just making big records, means that I've overcome the part of myself that necessarily has to be there. I have to do that. And all of this is, all these haves are things that, do we really want to do it? Who really wants to wake up at 3 a.m. and play?
Right. Something that you're talking about is this concept in a book that I'm reading right now called 10x is easier than 2x. And
Okay.
so the concept is that it's much easier to 10x your growth in life, whatever that is that you're trying to go for, than to double your efforts and double your growth. And so cutting out all the bullshit, all the noise, and focusing on that one thing that you really, really want. And there's only one or two paths to get there versus trying to double your efforts and do all these different things. And there's all these different paths to maybe get you that growth, whether it's an amount of money or amount of gigs or amount of status. And it's just noise. And so it's harder for people to cut all the bullshit and just hyper focus on that one thing because it's scary. You know, you're eliminating
Yes,
your options.
because we tend to think erroneously that what we are chasing is out there, but the reality is that you're just trying to reach your the best of you. Like for me, when I've done the best when I say I've done the best record of my career, of course, I hope it gets signed and I hope people will love it as much as I do, because I think it's full of love. But it's more to do with me saying, okay, I've reached my peak. I've done the absolute best of what what I'm able to do, of what I'm capable of, rather than comparing my best to someone else's best. So, like in the car, I'm listening to the song with my daughter and she's like, oh, this is better than, and I'm like, yeah, but there's people like, so, you have to compare. It depends who you compare. You have to be happy with it because you're happy with it. Otherwise, you're always comparing to, if you compare yourself to, there are certain producers that it's very hard to compare yourself to. Fred again. I don't know. Like they're so good that
Yeah.
you ask yourself, it's not, because it's not only about the status, because it also has to, well, in a way, I mean, you get to certain status and you feel free to do whatever, and that's when you're in the position to do something that completely revolutionary, changes everything in a way. I'm convinced that I'm already capable of that, but I've not probably convinced myself I'm in the correct position to do it. Or maybe I have, and I've done it. You see what I'm saying? So I'm trying to pass on to myself and my daughter, when we talk about these things, the fact that it always depends who you compare yourself with and what kind of expectations you have. So if you don't have expectations, you take expectations out of the equation and you compare to yourself like a year ago, rather than comparing yourself to others, and you just, then you are doing what you dreamed to do. And then there's obviously the money aspect. Of course, you have to make money. That comes with everything else, and you just have to believe it will.
Well, I think this sort of self-awareness can be a blessing and a curse, because I often get jealous of people who are floating through life kind of unaware of all these things that we're talking about, because they look like they're having a really good time. They look like they're just, it's ignorance is bliss, right? But when you have this level of self-awareness, it's like a beautiful thing. And I feel like, you extract more value out of life, but it can also kind of fuck you up.
Yeah, well, I've been fucked up for many years, to be honest. It's not that I'm,
okay.
you hear me talk like this, but it's a big struggle to live with yourself. It has been for me. It's been a very, very long journey, but it's, to put into prospect certain things that can happen to you in life. It's just, And this is why I'm still so driven and so passionate of what I do. It's just as if I feel responsible of this second opportunity that I've been given with, with my experience in Thailand. So it's as if I feel, in a way, you feel invincible, but you're not invincible.
Yeah.
And I feel while I'm playing, I know I'm getting older, so I'm not invincible at all. But you feel it's that way of living life that you want to be so happy, and you want to fill your life of so many great things that you want to feel that you're not gonna get sick. You don't have time to. You're not gonna And then things happen in life, of course. But that attitude, it's taken me a lifetime to get to this point, to have this. The beginning of a good attitude, and not being I've been through my share of complaining and not being happy, and not being happy I've always been happy, but I've in my
Sure.
way, I'm talking in my way.
Sure.
I've let music take over many times my personal life, and and you learn simply, I suppose.
Well, this has been so eye-opening for me to hear this perspective, and I feel like I need to put this is free game. This is free knowledge for not just artists, but people who need a little bit of perspective when they get into the minutia and the bullshit of day to day. You've provided us with an amazing perspective on really what life really is and what it's about. So thank you for sharing this knowledge with me. This has been one of the best conversations I've ever had on this show.
I win a prize.
You did. What? You name your prize, and it was your birthday too. So
I'm joking.
Well,
it was a pleasure. I always like to talk, and I to be honest, I also use these opportunities to find out new things about myself, and through others, through you in this case, other perspectives, and through the questions. Then you think about the questions, and sort of and yeah, it's great to talk to people. I mean, it's one of the best things of traveling, that you get to talk to everyone.
Yep.
And you sort of and giving is one of the best things in life. Giving is so receiving. It's so incredible giving.
And just so you know, my passion and purpose in life, starting as a journalist and now doing this, has always been having the privilege to ask people questions and have them open up to me and talk to me. I get real pleasure out of being able to do this, and I feel honored that people share a part of their day with me. And so this is just talk about emotionally fulfilling. This is it. So
I've been looking at your podcast, and I found it amazing. I was hoping you would ask me on, to be honest.
That's the best compliment you could ever give me. So thank you.
It's true.
Thank you. It's really hard to summarize everything that was said in that conversation, because there was so much wisdom shared that I actually had to kind of sit in silence for a couple minutes after we were done to just take it all in. And I've never done that before after an interview. But one thing that I really want to highlight is when he said, always be a first-rate version of yourself rather than a second-rate version of someone else. It's so basic, it's so simple, but in the chaos and cacophony of the music industry and just life today with social media, I think we tend to forget that. So if you enjoyed this episode, the best way to support the show is to share, of course, with your friends. We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Give us a follow on social media and reach out. Say hi. I'd love to hear from you, your thoughts on this episode and on the show. I'll see you next week.